the first thing, understanding productivity. It's a big term. Do any of you have any sort of ideas on what you think productivity is? Can I see some hands? I might pick on some people. So you might as well put your hands up beforehand, if that's all right. What do you think productivity is? I'm going to pick on Mahdia if no one says anything, so you might want to say her.
Oh God, I'm the worst person.
Come on.
Okay.
Whatever, there are no wrong answers. Be honest with yourself.
Just doing as much as I can in the time that I've got, which is a terrible definition, but yeah.
That's a good one. That's a very common one as well. I've heard a lot of people say that productivity is, filling up your schedule, doing as much as you can. There is a lot that needs to be sort of unlearned about what we know about productivity to learn what true productivity actually is. There's a big difference between being busy and being productive. I've definitely seen some busy people at LSE, I'm doing 100 spring weeks. I've sent off like 50 applications for like a summer internship or something. But there's a difference between being busy and being productive. If you guys can see this infographic, I'll get out of the way. Busy people are individuals that, do a lot, but they don't have much to show for it at the end of the day. They prioritize shallow tasks. They give attention away to anything and everything. Someone comes along their way, they say, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to do that? They instantly say yes. They attempt to multitask, and they don't do it very well. They continuously do very, very sort of shallow tasks, and they have a lot of good projects, but not many great projects, not many sort of outstanding projects. And again, they say yes by default. On the contrary, productive people. What are productive people? Productive people are ones that prioritize the most important tasks. I've got a plethora of things that I need to do. I want to prioritize the ones that are going to make me and get a lot of the most of my workload out of the way as soon as possible. They reserve attention for the most important things. They don't give their attention away willy-nilly. They hyper-focus on a single task. This is good, but it also can be bad, if you overdo things and you become a little bit of a perfectionist. But we'll come on to that later. They hyper-focus on a single task, and they want to make sure, they do it right. They batch shallow tasks. So, for example, Mahdi, you're busy, right? You've got a lot of things that you're doing. You got this, you got that. Productive people batch their tasks into groups. Group A, I can batch all of my tasks into this broad theme. I can batch all of my tasks into this broad theme. When you batch your tasks together, you can get a lot of them done at once. You have similar sort of techniques that you can employ, which gets a lot of them done in sort of one fell swoop. They have fewer projects, but they have exceptional projects. They have projects that they put a lot of time and a lot of effort into, and they say no by default. I'm not saying that this is a great thing to do, but they say no by default because they want to reserve their energy for the projects that, give them the most out of them, and they're able to contribute the most quality work towards. I've got 5 things that I want to talk to you guys about that would hopefully, even if it's at least one of them, even if it's a subsection within one of them, that will hopefully get your sort of creative, productive juices flowing. And inshallah, you can probably implement those in your lives. Even if it makes a small difference now, hopefully a couple of years down the line, it will sort of reap bigger benefits, inshallah. The first thing, above everything else, is intention, as the sister mentioned. Time in Islam is incredibly, incredibly important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by this concept of time, and we know things that he takes an oath by are incredibly, incredibly important. Throughout the rest of the surah, we realize and we understand that life is useless unless things are done in the way of Islam and done in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Intention, niyyat, intention is super, super important. Everything before yourself, before anything else, must be acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it to have any sort of lasting material as well as spiritual benefit. We're not doing any of this for our own benefit. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, in the short term and in the small term, that's perfectly true. We are doing things for our own benefit. But to have the sort of understanding that we are working towards a greater cause and we are working towards a greater vision, that's the most important thing for us in terms of altering our mindset on how we accomplish work, how we organize ourselves. So the first lesson, and I'm glad that I put this up first before anything else, always keep Islam, faith, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your intentions. With that, everything else sort of falls into place. I've got a hadith here. I don't know who can read Urdu here or who can read Arabic here. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Sort of your intentions or your acts are guided and sort of guided by your intentions. Boom. Faith provides the purpose that drives everything in this presentation. Surah 23, Surah Mu'minun. Successful indeed are the believers, those who humble themselves in prayer. A lot of what I'm going to teach you today, these are tools that you can sort of utilize for your own purpose. But these are tools. Hammers don't hammer on their own. Spanners don't... What do spanners do? Spanners don't spanner on their own. Screwdrivers don't screwdrive on their own. You need to actively pick them up and actually use them, right? They're not there. They're not animate. We're not doing like a Toy Story thing right here. They're not animate living things. These are tools ready and available at your own disposal. It's important for you to pick those up and use them to drive forward with your own faith, and at least with respect to this presentation, with your own productivity. And prayer is a big part of that. As per Islam, and I know Brother Ghazan is going to talk about this in a lot more detail than I ever could, but in Islam, as a Muslim, as the people in this room here, you have succeeded. As per that previous ayah, you have succeeded. Despite everything, despite your health issues, despite your financial issues, despite any academic stress you may have, despite any financial stress you may have, despite any social, familial, anything you may have, you have succeeded. You have achieved the ultimate success. Vali, that comes with certain prerequisites, and the first is obviously to establish salah in your life. Think of the adhan. Who can give me the lines of the adhan after Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah, Ashhadu anna Mawlana Aliyan hujjatullah? Anyone can give me those lines afterwards? Hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah, and the other one? Hayya ala khayr al-amal. Salah, success, ala al-falah, hayya ala khayr al-amal. Come to the greatest deed. Salah, we often sort of connotate with something that pulls us away from our routine, our success. We say, okay, I can do this, and then I can pray salah, and then I can do everything else. Rather, we should really sort of re-establish the position that salah has in our life in terms of being part of that sort of trajectory and schedule. I mean, salah isn't a sort of a diversion from your sort of worldly success. It is the guide towards your success. And it's interesting as well to think of the connotations of the word success or similar sounding words in Arabic. Who speaks Arabic here by chance? Yeah? What is the word for sort of farmer in Arabic? Fallah. There's been a lot of work and a lot of sort of I don't know what to call it tafsir, but very interesting work that has been done on the sort of connotations of the word fallah and hayya ala al-falah. Two different words. But if you think about it, there are interesting lessons to be learned there. Fallah, a farmer, what do? They plant seeds. They plant sort of early work, earlier in the year where they're not going to see any benefits, reap any rewards. And then inshallah, towards the summer, towards the autumn, and towards the winter, they have their rewards with them. Establishing salah, you may not see a benefit at in the sort of immediate time, but establishing salah and working towards that as you move forward would do wonders for you. Think of it, and you have to think of it incredibly holistically. Now, I've got a point here about Dhuhr and Asr. You probably hear a lot of scholars talk to you about, Isha, Maghrib, Fajr even is the most important salah in terms of your routine because you have to wake up in the middle of the night. It sort of trains your discipline. But I've mentioned Dhuhr and Asr here, particularly with respect to this presentation. Does anyone have any idea why I might have mentioned Dhuhr and Asr in this presentation? Any idea? Shout them out, honestly. There are no wrong answers.
During the workday?
Perfect. I actually put that down here before and then I deleted it because I wanted to see if anyone could get it. But no, perfect. Dhuhr and Asr are during your workday. They're at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock right now. And we have our sort of schedules laid out where we're going to work a 9 to 5 and we're going to do everything we can, and then obviously things will come afterwards. But Dhuhr and Asr provide a sort of very natural break within the middle of those two that can really sort of, in some aspects, some people may interpret it as a sort of diversion away from that schedule, but Dhuhr and Asr should really be incorporated into that schedule and into that structure. Because with those things in your schedule, you reaffirm your faith and you reaffirm the sort of driver that you have towards your productivity. Remember, nothing happens without faith. Success, nothing comes without faith. Dhuhr and Asr therefore drive you towards that, and it's so important to remember that. In summary, we want success, we look for the tools to get success, we go towards Salah, and inshallah, we get success. It's that simple. Obviously, a few hitches along the road. It's not as simple as that, but it's that sort of mindset that we need to really have before we go forward and see and establish and look at some of the tools that we could, take use of. I was trying to look for pictures of shaitan. This was the only thing that came up. I apologize for that. Mariam, please don't take a picture of that. I don't want my face against that. But no, one of my favorite sort of hadith on procrastination. Shaitan puts 3 knots at the back of your head of any of you if he is asleep. He reads and exhales the following words: the night is long, so stay asleep. When one wakes up and remembers Allah, the first thing that he does when he remembers Allah, 1 knot is undone. And when they perform wudu, the second one is undone. And when they pray salah, the third one is undone. So they get an energetic and a sort of good start to the morning. Otherwise, you just wake up lazy and you wake up with sort of mischievous start. Don't know what that really means. But sort of laziness is that main thing. This sort of plays onto the bigger theme of sort of procrastination, but we'll get onto that later. Time management, that's the big one. Prioritization is very key for this type of thing. This is the first sort of like actual non-religious-y thing, but obviously keeping faith at the back of your head. This is important. Time management is important when you're sort of optimizing your productivity. Prioritization, remember we talked about productive individuals. Prioritization is key. Most tasks take the form of either a big task, a medium task, and a small task. Interesting to note, these are all related. Medium tasks and small tasks, 95% of the time, form part of the big task. They're sort of composites of a whole. Making sure that you are able to tick things off of a list is incredibly important. You know, you have your own sort of internal lists in your head. You want to be able to tick things off. You want to be able to, as the sister was mentioning, you want to be able to show that you're actually getting stuff done. Mahdiya, you're busy. You want to see that you're getting stuff done in your day, right? You want to see ticks against all of those different points within your to-do schedule. So being able to sort of start with smaller tasks first and then get the ball rolling so that you can get bigger tasks done towards the end is probably the best way for you to go about, some of the bigger tasks that you can do. Breaking down bigger tasks into smaller tasks as well is great for that as the sort of 2 shorter 9 to 5s, where you have from Fajr or whenever you wake up after Fajr to Dhuhr and Asr, and then from Asr to Maghrib. Think of it as like 2 sort of shorter 9 to 5s. That obviously works within the winter months. Maybe towards the summer months that gets a little bit longer, and so that thinking needs to be rechanged. But if you rethink your schedule based around your Islamic lifestyle, that would work wonders for you. Exercise, anything will do, honestly, anything. Keeping yourself fit, even if it's a walk. Honestly, I'm built like a twig. I have no sort of exercise sort of capabilities, or I had no exercise capabilities 4 or 5 months ago. But going on walks, going on runs, doing at least something where you get a change of scenery and get a change of fresh air, every single day, if not every 2 or 3 days, is so important. And when I say anything, I really mean anything. Getting yourself out of your sort of rut, sat behind a computer, it's so important. And then mindfulness. Brother Kazim's going to talk about this later. But mindfulness and prayer is so important. It reinforces a belief in Allah, it reinforces your faith, and it makes sure that you remember what your driving force is. You have all of these tools, again, around you. This is a tool, this is a tool. But not knowing where you're going towards your final destination, that's the thing that's driving you towards your goal. So it's important to keep all of those things in mind. Here's something that you won't hear from most other speakers, but you're actually allowed to be lazy. Oh my God, be lazy? No, genuinely, you are allowed to be lazy. You're allowed to have off days. Keeping yourself to such a high standard every single day. Like, alhamdulillah, we are at one of the best institutions in this country, probably even the world, and it's okay for you to have off days. Obviously only sometimes, but it's okay for you to have off days, and it's okay for you not to be performing at 100 every single day. A lot of the productivity books and the YouTubers you see present a lifestyle and a world where they're performing at 100% every single day without fail. There's no stopping, mashallah, they're doing this, that, and the other. They've got a book deal here, they've got a podcast over there, they're doing amazingly. But they don't show you what happens on the average day to day. And what happens for the most part on an average day to day is they're performing far below what they purport to do. It's okay not to be perfect, but it's how you perceive the sort of challenges that overcome you, or that come your way, and get back from those things that make you a productive, but also, more importantly, persevering individual. So lesson 2, being mindful, as Brother Qasim will talk about later, is key. Looking at the challenges that come around you, looking at the issues, the sources of procrastination, and changing the perspective on how you see them. Don't look at them as sources of distractions, but see how you can harness them, see how you can utilize them. It will be perfect and it will be much better for you. Be deliberate in what you want and try your best to keep a schedule, but remind yourself that you are human, you are insane, and you do make mistakes, and it is okay for you to perform not to the highest standard every single time if you know what's driving you in the first place. Remember, it's all about that mindset, and I'm not going to talk about that too much because our second speaker will talk about that for sure. Dealing with distractions is important as well. Distractions, again, will and can pop up. They're very similar to sources of procrastination, but the challenge is obviously incorporating a positive mindset on those distractions rather than a negative one. And again, it's a lot of the similar sort of things that I'm talking about here, but don't hold yourself to high exacting standards. If you feel like you aren't meeting your potential, remember, Surah Al-Baqarah is perfect for, giving a man or a woman great sort of motivation to get through distractions. Distractions are a test. One fosters patience and learning through them, and Allah is always with the patient, and He does not give you a burden greater than which you cannot bear. Keep all of those things in mind, and as soon as you change your mentality on things, sources of procrastination, sources of distractions, your life will, you will feel a sort of emotional and mental burden relieved from yourself. You will be so much more lighter and you will be so much more perseverant to get through the day. It leads on to a more important point, and Mahdiya is smiling about this one already. Partnership is key. I remember one of you guys said friends and friendships and different people that you're hanging out with are a great source of procrastination in your lives. But partnership can also be harnessed to your benefit and to your advantage. Having friends and working together provides you with greater accountability than working on your own. Accountability is so key when working towards a goal. This can take the form of friends, partners. We're going to talk about technology later. But friends, partners, people you study with, it's so important to have other people keeping you to your goals, keeping you to your checkpoints. And what greater partnership is there than people that are going to keep you to your goals, but also going to keep you to your faith? Everyone here in this room, I'm not just saying this because I helped with the sort of organization a couple of years ago, but this ABSOC is your family away from your family. I don't know how many of you are from outside of London. Can I just see how many of you are outside from London? Milton Keynes doesn't count, it's fine. But yeah, a lot of you are outside from home, and it's going to be a while before, hopefully you go back in Christmas, but it's going to be a while before you do see your family again. It's so important to treat this ABSOC like your family, to keep you guys connected with your friendships as well as with your faith. The thing I want to talk about here, technology. Technology can be a friend if you use it correctly. It's quite an effective substitute. I've said substitute here, my economics brain is turning on here, but it's actually a sort of complement towards your sort of friends as an accountability sort of booster. Forest is also really good. I've got like a little forest and like a bonsai tree here. Basically, every 30 minutes, you set a time, I think it's like 25 or 30 minutes, and you don't use your phone for 25 and 30 minutes, and it plants a little tree in your garden. You can get like little collectible trees and everything. It's very cute. These are all sort of very superficial things, but at the end of the day, they're so important towards building sort of distance from social media, but using technology to your advantage. Technology is sort of a given. It's obviously not academic integrity notwithstanding, but using AI to your advantage in terms of scheduling, in terms of getting sort of basic ideas on how you can be more productive, and then filling in the blanks yourself, getting the sort of bare bones and then filling it in with your own sort of initiative and ideas is perfect. And I've put sort of notebooks and planners here. I know we've sort of entered the digital age, but keeping sort of physical ideas and actually writing down what you've got every single day, so you can use habit trackers, but also being actively aware of what you're doing at any given time throughout the day is perfect. But yeah, I don't know if you guys know what the Pomodoro technique is, where you do 25 minutes of work, and then you take a 5-minute break, and then you do that sort of 3 or 4 times. 4 times? Yeah, you can do it 3 or 4 times, and then you take a longer break at the end of that. I often do it where I do a Pomodoro or a couple of Pomodoros before Salah, before sort of Dhuhr Asr, and then before Maghrib Isha. And that really sort of gets me into the sort of headspace of, okay, I'm doing my work, but I've got a sort of reward at the end of it. And that reward is, you know, Salah and then the break afterwards, which is perfect. And you can obviously use technology to that advantage with respect to, you know, setting the timers, distance away from your phone, that kind of thing. Yeah, again, the most important thing here, it's not the be all and end all. There's a fine balance between being busy, but also being productive. You don't get all of these things if you don't have the intention and the willpower to act on them. You've got all the tools around you, so you need to drive that forward. You're productive, remember, you're not being busy. I think that's all I've got here. These are the sort of main lessons that I have. I think this one's the most important, knowing the apps and everything. But just, brother's obviously going to talk about this a little bit more. If anything, I'm more of an introduction to his talk. Be mindful. Remember that everything happens for a reason, and remember that you need to have a positive mindset on things. It's so easy to get bogged down with the amount of assignments that you have, with the amount of work that you have, with your social pressures, with your familial pressures. But keeping your mindset and rooting it strongly within your faith is so unbelievably important in terms of recalibrating how you look at things. So take that in mind. Inshallah, everything else will fall into place. If you guys want to get in contact with me, I'm sure Mahdia will send my number and like sort of socials around. So please get in contact with me. I'm not an expert again, but I'd be happy to just talk with you. It's really good to, again, get sort of impartial third-party advice, be it from a friend or from not a friend. But no, I really do hope that at least all of the people here that are freshers, and everyone here actually, has taken at least something from this to sort of implement in your life. But no, it's been a pleasure, and inshallah, we'll break for Salah now.